right, welcome, kings and queens. Today we are back, y'all. We are in the palace and we are talking all things Love and Marriage Huntsville. Um, yeah, the gift that keeps on giving. I sat back and there was a couple of things that came to mind for me regarding Love and Marriage Huntsville. I think it's an absolute mess, right? I'm like, man, how did we get here with the show that had so much potential as it relates to Black excellence, child? Black excellence. But then I thought, how do you take something of that caliber as an executive producer, as a production team, as a network, and you literally fumble the ball, fumble the opportunity? So then I started to think and think and think, and I'm like, technically, everybody kind of played a role, right? When we think about the coulda,'s, woulda,'s, and shoulda,'s of it all, child, if we're just talking. But when I think about who stays and who goes, the first thing that came to mind for me is, listen, I'm going to say it. There's no way to make it pretty. I believe the Scots have hit a wall. I believe the Scots have aged out of the show. And I'm not talking literally a chronological age. They've completely aged out of the show by way of behavior, mindset, and complacency. Listen, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like if you just go back and you sit and you marinate in what I'm saying and you have an open mind, do you feel like the Scots have aged out? Do you feel like we've gotten everything that we're probably going to get from the Scots? Let's talk about it. For those of you who are just tuned in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome to the palace. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television, but most importantly, I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience.
Subscribe now.
I got to thinking and thinking and thinking, and Kimmy came to mind, and I was like, there's really nothing more that Kimmy can give at her age without it negatively impacting her reputation, which she's. So when I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what? There's really nowhere for Kimmy to go at all. Then I started to think about Maurice. I was like, there's really nowhere for Maurice to go at all, in my opinion, unless you open up the vault. The deep, dark, dirty secrets that he has as a man. And we know that Kimmy's not going to allow that to happen because there's a switch, I believe, in Kimmy's mind. At least Kimmy has a switch as a woman that she'll only allow the producers to go so far when it comes to her husband's alleged indiscretions, the substance, alleged whatever influence he was under when he did not go home the night after the party, and he was driving under the influence. It wasn't a DWI. I don't believe driving while intoxicated. It was under the influence, which leads us to say what? Under the influence of what? And I'm of the notion that if you're not going to tell it, then what the hell are we doing? Like, what are we doing? It is reality television. And if you're going to be closed mouth about your own reality, even the not so good parts, what are we doing? What are we here for? So in that aspect, Kimmy and Maurice have aged out. We know that Maurice has a sexual, I hesitate to say addiction, but that's almost how he described it, but they're not talking about it, right? Carlos has allowed them to put it on the table and completely back away from it. And actually, Kimmy became the butt of the joke of the sexual addiction when she was diagnosed with cancer, and he made a huge laughing stock out of her condition and how he still needed her to fulfill his needs sexually while she was sick. So when you start to think about that, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here with Kimmy and Maurice? Because essentially, in my opinion, Kimmy has completely dug a hole, like a reverse hole, almost like Benjamin Button. Girl, you completely aged backwards, but not in a good way when it comes to your role on the show as a sophisticated woman of age. And I believe Kimmy had so much potential, y'all. She had so much potential on this show. And she got off to somewhat of a decent start. We were interested in her. You remember when they were dating? They were not yet married. They did get married while on the show. But during that time, to me, that's when Kimmy was the most interesting because at that time they were talking about becoming a blended family. There was an obvious age difference between Maurice and Kimmy. She was a very attractive woman, okay? And we really wanted to see during that time where this was going to go, how production would evolve this story. And it fell flat. It fell flat. They utilized Maurice's son, Monster, as their storyline. They utilized Kimmy's lack of sexual interest as the storyline. And that was it. That was it from Kimmy and Maurice. So, with that being said, in my opinion, that couple, the Scotts, Kimmy and Maurice, have completely aged out of the show. You got to cut it. You got to cut it, Carlos. It's time for you to give them their walking papers. And not because I say so, it's just no longer a good fit. It's just no longer a good fit. And at some point, we have to stop trying to squeeze juice from a turnip. So that's my opinion when it comes to Kimmy and Maurice. Do you feel like Kimmy and Maurice have a little bit more in the tank to give? What are your thoughts? All right. So, what are your thoughts? Seriously. I mean, don't feel like you have to just agree with me. Do you, maybe some of you really like and enjoy Maurice and Kimmy on this show. And if so, I just want to know out of curiosity, what aspect of their role on the show do you enjoy? I don't know. I think the door has closed with that opportunity. I think they've had numerous seasons to show up, and for me, it's just not giving. It's not giving. But let's shift to. I want to shift to Leticia and Marcel, the Scots. What do y'all call them? 1.0. Okay, but okay. Leticia and Marcel. I am no longer interested in Leticia and Marcel as a couple at all. Are y'all shocked that I just said that? I am no longer interested as in Leticia and Marcel as a couple at all. We did it, we seen it, we heard it. Goodbye. Let me tell you why. There is nothing there by way of chemistry. There is nothing there by dynamicism. There is nothing there by way of having like this unique presence, because even if Leticia doesn't have it alone, there is sometimes if you put two people together, man, they can make magic. And that's not the case, in my opinion, with Leticia and Marcel. Do you think they still have an opportunity to wow us as an audience, as a couple, as a couple? And if so, what aspects do you think they can bring to the show that they've not yet brought? I feel like let me tell you why I'm asking. I feel like Letitia's hit a wall. I don't think there's anything there. I don't think you can force her into stardom. I think she's a stay-at-home mom. I think she served her role on the show, and I think she's done what she came to do, which was kind of break out of her shell when it comes to her marriage, the traditional roles that her husband expected her to play. She got a little messy with Melody. You know what I'm saying? And time does that. There's some people that have nothing but time. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Wait. Let me tell you something. I was talking to my hairstylist, and he and I were talking. And at one point while we were talking, somebody, I don't remember who, put a negative comment on my platform. And I said, you know what? I got time today. And he said, uh-uh, don't even. Because you may have time today, but people like that got time every day. They ain't got nothing but time. They ain't got nothing to lose. And you got time today, but they got nothing but time. They got time today. They got time tomorrow. And that's where I think Leticia has showcased herself to be. She ain't got nothing but time. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. Have you ever heard that saying? An idle mind is a devil's workshop. And of all the things that Leticia could have been giving and or pouring into herself, based on my experience, she chose to focus on melody. Ain't no way. Girl, ain't no way. If I was able to break the shackles and I was loosed in the name of Jesus from the confounds of a traditional marriage where my husband thought that all I was good for was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, staying at home and having kids barefoot while pregnant in the kitchen, and I got an opportunity of a lifetime, I ain't worried about nobody else. I would be focused on building my brand. I would be focused on getting out, networking, meeting other women, including moms. And I would have taken that ball and I would have run with it if I were Leticia Scott. Now, based on your opinion as an audience, what are some things that you feel like when you think about Leticia could have done that she did not capitalize on? What comes to mind for you? What comes to mind for you? Do you see anything that you feel like she's naturally gifted at? Something that would cause the female audience to really be able to connect with her? Is there anything that you saw then that you wish she kind of would have honed in on a little bit more to draw the audience in? For me, um, there was no alignment with me with Leticia. I thought she was a beautiful woman, but I didn't understand the helplessness act when it came to her husband and her marriage as a grown woman. The dynamic kind of made me a little bit uncomfortable because she presented herself more of a younger minded woman as opposed to a wife, even if you're not working, right? But I don't know. I just think there's a level of honor that comes with being a wife. And I don't feel like she played her cards right when it comes to that within her marriage and also on the show. And you can still listen. Some of y'all say, well, no, wait a minute. She's allowing her husband to lead. Okay, that's fine too. I'm not arguing with that, but you can still be fabulous. You can still be that girl in the home. That's all I'm saying. Hell, we watch the white women do it every day on the Housewives of Orange County, Dubai. We watch them do it every day. The Real Housewives of Miami, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm talking about fabulous, honey. And Tisha just didn't give that fabuloso. She didn't give that to me. Now, listen, I want to shift to Marcel. Marcel, there have been times that Marcel has had wow moments where I was like, wow, that was good. That was funny. There's something there. There are times that I'm interested in him but without Leticia being attached to his arm. What are your thoughts? How would they work that out? Let's just say, hypothetically, Leticia was no more as a main cast member on the show. And I know Carlos King wants to keep this dynamicism or this dynamic of couples, but it's just not coupling. It's just not giving. I'm sorry, it's not. So if we had to break them up, we got rid of Kimmy, we got rid of Maurice, we got rid of Leticia. Could Marcel actually stay and do his own thing? Do you think he has enough staying power to stay in the game and bring good television as it relates to Love and Marriage Huntsville? Or has he too aged out? I think as a couple, I think as a couple now, they've aged out. Leticia and Marcel, Kimmy and Maurice. There's nothing else. And I'm not interested in their children. I'm not interested in their home life. I'm not interested in any of that. Maurice and Kimmy, no. No, monsters back home with Kiowa. There's only so much Kimmy can bring. And I also feel like the Scotts have completely disconnected from their own reality, and Sonny, Moses, and Melody have become their storyline. So that's my reason for presenting this commentary. But what are your thoughts? If we got rid of the Scotts, is Love and Marriage still something that you would be waiting to tune into? Or is it just done? Is it a complete wrap? I want to know. That crossed my mind this morning, and I thought, let me jump on. Let me ask. Yeah, I think it's time for them to go. I don't even know why I'm asking. Let me quit. I think it's time for them to go. I think the show has run its course outside of the Scots as well. I don't really think you can go anywhere with it, just because the reality ain't reality. It's just something that seems to be in the water when it comes to these Huntsville folks, and I don't know. Mm. It's a strange type of fruit. You know what I'm saying? It's a strange type of fruit. But with that being said, y'all, let's take it to the chat and let me know, what are your final thoughts on this?